tournaments, build consistency in the online seasonal majors. And then he went over into the Royale, won a Royale, and then he went to DreamHack Dallas and won DreamHack Dallas. So he's basically won every single step that you can except for the World Championship. And guess where we are, Paulie?
We're at BCX, and this is the time to do it. Santy is going to be locked in on that Asuri and Use on the Jeyun. We have some great sword action on the mainstream.
And Use is like one of the best placing. I mean, he really is the best placing greatsword player in the entire world. He's been one of the few champions still playing on that weapon in 2v2 and in 1v1 as well. And Santy coming in with the Asuri. We don't see too much Asuri anymore. If we see Katars, it can be on some different legends. Of course, if we see Sword, it can be on different legends as well. Yeah, XJ Cool J, one of them.
Actually, Cool J, that's about as far as the extent goes. And I mean, we've been having our little small cute chit chat. Use is not having any of it. He's already taken a stock off of Santy. I barely know how it happened. Use, he just kind of did his magic and stock went flying.
Yeah, he was able to clean it up very quickly within 50 seconds of the first game, and he's keeping that pressure going. We were talking about weapon guarding versus weapon starving in the previous game, but so far Use was really on that weapon starving game. Now he goes back over to the Greatsword, though Santy does come from North America, so he probably has at least some experience against another one of the Greatsword champions, Hardy MJ. So he likely has more experience maybe than your average player.
Absolutely, and Santy is using it to his advantage right now, able to pick up a lot of damage on this sword. Great sidelight coming out from Use. He's not going to be able to extend that into anything kind of crazy, but still, Use is extending this lead, looking incredibly comfortable, starting to think about picking up a knockout here.
Trying to look for these neutral airs, maybe a little bit of a juggle game. Trying to land on the platform. Nice interruption there from Santy, punishing the landing. You saw him move and actually dash away rather than burning his dodge to get out of the range of Use. Now Use is going over to the sword, so it has those more consistent KO combos, and he finds them almost immediately the second he picks that up. So now it's greatsword time. It's damage build time. Moves over back to that weapon. So he has this kind of two-phase system, but then he also can move over if he wants to strip the field and keep Santy off the weapon. He's not beholden to the greatsword as the only damage option.
Yeah, Greatsword been looking incredibly strong so far. Whenever he's on that sword, though, I feel like on the sword, he's a bit more pushy. And I feel like that's almost a bit uncalled for, because what do you imagine when you think about really good greatsword gameplay? You're thinking about someone that's constantly going in, you're hammering your opponent with a bunch of, you know, connected attacks and a bunch of dodge reads. But Use actually a pretty calm and collected greatsword player. It's when he is on that sword that he tries to kind of commit harder. Speaking of hammering in, Santy on these Katars able to pick up so much damage.
Over stuck on the edge. We'll see if he can make it over the corner. Back on the stage, he does. And Use is just going to completely disengage. Even though he has a pretty solid lead here, he's not going to take any huge risks going back over to the sword. You see those recoveries coming out, those KO moves. Even though Santy's not quite in KO damage yet, it is still a very good damaging move. Can be a reasonably safe move. And Santy's looking for the same move, but in different contexts. He's looking for that KO here onto Use to get that second stock. As his final stock is winding down, GC D-Light into the recovery. Juggle these weapons to delay the spawn. Back over to the Katars. He wants to find those huge strings. He has to find those huge strings, or maybe an offstage engagement, and he is instantly punished for it. That down air put him in sweat beats. Used didn't immediately go over to the weapon. He wanted to punish as Santy came back onto the main stage, even though he was disarmed.
Santy had a dream for a moment, wanted to go for that massive ground pound, but Use immediately stripping him of all hope with really precise sword play. Is going to be able to take that last stock off and give himself a 1-0 on the scoreboard. Staring at the screens now, thinking about what to do for the next game. Use Face, I mean, Use Face tells me he's going to be on the same legend.
I would definitely agree. I don't think there's any reason to swap whatsoever. Of course, he does have the potential Vector in the background that he could be using. But if we look at
so
what he really leaned on, like Vector?
Yeah, Vector. Like, yeah, Vector in 2023. Like, what are you doing?
Use is one of those players, kind of like Pugsy, was like, okay, you play Jala, no one else plays Jala, like you have the Jala pass. When you block in Jala, it doesn't surprise me, you know how to play that legend really well. Initially, when Use was playing Vector, it was like, okay, all right, what is this?
He's trolling.
Yeah, what are you doing here, brother? And then, like, Use has the Vector pass. He can play that legend better than anybody else. It's not a surprise. Absolutely, yeah, he's allowed to.
He's the one player allowed to pick Vector in tournaments, but we are going to be seeing that Jeyun come out yet again. Santy, amazing start so far. neutral signature isn't going to be connecting, and again, we see use on this greatsword. His greatsword is so precise, calm and collected, able to pick up that dodge. Getting a lot of damage off of it, swapping over to the sword. He always applies so much pressure. Use, no matter where he is on the stage, he's always chasing you. In one way or another, he's always chasing you down.
We've seen him like push Santy off stage hard. We've also seen him like guard that corner really hard, really close. He's not just gonna stay back and like maybe poke out with a sidelight, do something safe, maybe to try and catch it. No, like he's sitting right over on the corner, and the punish from middle stage. Perfect KO there with the 4-piece from Use. Could be running away with this one as well unless Santy's able to find this stock. Instantly, the weapon toss comes out, point blank, hits Santy. The weapon-starving game from Use. He's been weapon-starving so much harder than anyone else we've seen during our block poly. But Santy is able to fight back. Is he going to swap back over and stay on the Katars? Yes, he is. That's been the weapon that he's been leaning on for the damage build-up game. Kind of like Use has been leaning on the Greatsword, but of course, I think Use has been a bit more flexible. It's just like, oh, I have a Greatsword now. This is what I want. Look at the sword coming out.
I
the
see
damage build is here too as well. Santy gets 3-piece, 4-piece, doesn't pick up the 5. He's not grabbing the Caniac combo just yet.
And that is so crazy. They was leaning in Use's favor so badly, and then all of a sudden Santy just takes all of that damage back. And I mean, you're looking at a pair of Katars. All it takes is 1 or 2 reads, and that is already like half a stock melted away, giving Santy a hard time here though. Swapping over to the Greatsword for the knockout. Trying to go for these recoveries. Nothing is connecting just yet. Darren's Nair not going to do the job just yet though.
He's looking for it. He's continuing to try and fish for these down airs into the neutral airs, but he's not just a one-trick pony. He doesn't have like, oh, I'm going to do my great sword combo. It's always going to start with a side light, or it's always going to start with an in light, or anything like that. He's very flexible on his great sword. He doesn't have to fish for one thing too often. He tries to go through all the different decision tree options before really finding what's going to be successful. Now he's doing the dare into the neutral air quite a bit. Now he's holding the ground, and you're starting to see him go in with those sidelights. So he does a great job of varying things up so that Santy has to keep up as well, figure out what's coming. That time he didn't immediately go for the down air into the neutral air because he hit that grounded dare rather than the aerial version. Santy stuck on the edge, just barely getting back. You saw those sweat beads come out. Use immediately moved over, applying that pressure like you said earlier.
Yeah, 2 of the most important things about Use the way he's playing. Always keeping his enemies on edge. They never know exactly how he's going to play, and always pressuring them. And that together, I mean, that's just a deadly combination. There's not much you can do against that. But Santy would beg to differ as he is getting closer and closer to bringing this back to a 1-1 on the scoreboard. Use, though, able to pick up that dodge. Not able to knock out just yet. He's going to have to go for one more attack. Tries to look for the nair, tries to look for the recovery. Nothing is connecting just yet, though. So close.
Oh, he almost got hit with that. Santy, he tried to go for the big play there for the GC instinct, didn't quite make a connection, and there you go. Use seems to be more consistent than a lot of other greatsword players on finding KO options. And so the variability, the flexibility that Use has as a Jae-Yun player, he does have the dynamic of, I'm going to damage build with the greatsword, then I'm going to swap over to the sword. But he's not a one-trick pony. He's not one-dimensional. If he can't get that sword pickup, I'm just going to find the dare into the neutral air. I'm going to find that consistently. I'm going to fish for it maybe a little bit, but then I also have other KO options that are based on reads as well. So the variability that he has, the improvisation, he has so many options in his bag of tricks, and he's able to consistently hit enough of them, more than a lot of other greatsword players out there. Like, he makes it look like it's almost easy to KO on that weapon.
And I saw something actually really interesting from Santy in the last stock there. Now, Santy wasn't able to close it out, but what I saw, Use got a sidelight on the greatsword, and Santy straight up did nothing. He didn't dodge. Use went for a dodge read. Santy literally just walked away. Calm and collected, just walking away. And that's the kind of mix-ups that Santy is all about, and that is the kind of things that you needed to throw off. I mean, this is a greatsword veteran. This is a greatsword extraordinaire. And if you're able to throw him off, I mean, you're doing quite well.
Yeah, and there you're seeing the mix-up right there. Like, he's starting off with a side light. That time when he made the connection, he went for the D-light into the full string. Before, he went for the side light, got the hit, went for the turnaround neutral light. So he's kind of doing what you do with Gauntlet moments when you hit the side light, whether you do the GC side light same direction, GC side light.
Use.
Oh, the 4-piece coming out from Use, not able to quite punish the landing. There we're seeing the side light into the turnaround. Neutral light, the variation, always keeping his opponent guessing. Doesn't turn it around,
man.
Keeps it going the same direction and gets the KO off of it. I'm telling you, Use makes Great Sword look easier than it is.
Not again. Use is going for it again. It picks up another dodge read. Not like this, Use. And another one.
Gosh.
There's no stopping this man. He said, hold up, last game was close. Let's change that for our match point.
I want to call out like what he's doing, but then all of a sudden he starts doing something else.
1
and I can't
minute
keep
and
up.
23 seconds. Use is finishing up the last game in style. That is going to be the end of the set. What just happened? 1 minute and 23 seconds, Sparky. I can't get over that. 1 minute and 23 seconds.
I can't wait to see the graph on this. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Really, I can't wait for everyone at home to see the